Then on Sports Central, we cover a college football bowl preview and prediction on the 2022 Texas Bowl matchup between the LSU Tigers and the Kansas State Wildcats. Both teams have had good but insane seasons to this point. Of course, you got LSU. This team in particular, of course, is a team that many would say has underachieved in this 2021 through 22 season. And of course, Ed Orgeron, the head coach that led this team to a national title only 2 seasons ago, is no longer with the program. And with all the craziness of that, plus the transfers and the quarterback situation, just been a crazy season here for LSU. And they're facing off against Kansas State, one of the dark horses of the Big 12. They've had a good season, talented football team that's dealt with a couple of injuries down the stretch, but definitely a good football team here in Kansas State. Should make for a good matchup here coming up on January 4th. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. LSU beat Texas A&M 27-24. Huge win there for the Tigers to get up to a bowl game. I mean, this team was 4-6 heading into the last 2 games of the season, and many people didn't think they'd get past Texas A&M there. I mean, you lose that game there against the Aggies, and you are out of the bowl picture. So, yeah, that was a huge win for LSU. They are 6-6 heading into this bowl game, 2-game winning streak as well. Just been once again a roller coaster ride of the season. I mean, this team has performed. I mean, they've had some good performances over the course of the year. They've played well in a few big games for sure, but for the most part, they just haven't been able to get it done, and they've suffered a lot of close losses as well. I mean, this team lost by 6 to Alabama, lost by 3 to Arkansas, lost by a couple touchdowns to Ole Miss, and we'll get into more about that in a little bit. But yeah, just a tough season here for LSU. For Kansas State, lost at Texas on the road 17-22. Obviously, tough loss there against Texas, and that's definitely a winnable game, but Kansas State just couldn't get it done in the end. They got a 2-game losing streak heading into this matchup. It'll be on Tuesday, January 4th, Houston, Texas. Kickoff time is 8 p.m. Central. Spread's going Kansas State here by 7, so the Wildcats are actually significantly favored in this matchup according to the spread, especially in a game that's not expected to be too high scoring. Your over-under is 47.5. FPI is going LSU, though, 54.2%. So I'm not sure the FBI is taking into consideration LSU's quarterback situation. Miles Brennan and Max Johnson, of course, both entered the transfer portal. So Nussmeier looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback for this game, but Max Johnson, of course, he is gone. Miles Brennan's coming back for next season, but he is not going to be playing for this bowl game here. So a lot's at stake here. And of course, for LSU in this situation, it's a really interesting game, and we'll get into more about this in a little bit. But I mean, for LSU here, this is kind of a game looking into the future. This really isn't even a game that is a part of the 2021 season. I mean, technically, it goes to the record for the 2021 season, but this is a game that really we're looking into the future here for LSU. Nussmeier's your starting quarterback, it looks like, and of course, the new coaching situation. And for LSU, this is kind of a game looking into the future and not as much trying to finish out this 2021 season on a high note. I mean, this is all about the future here for the Tigers. But yeah, for Kansas State, obviously, I mean, this is a football team that's got plenty of talent. They've had injuries have affected this team over the course of the season. So, I mean, for Kansas State, still good opportunity for them to finish out the season with a good win. But series history, LSU leads at 1-0. That game was back in 1980. Here's your stat comparison for this game. LSU, 27 points a game, 25 points allowed, 264 passers a game, 109 rush yards. And then for yards allowed, you got 234 passing, 137 for rushing. And as for K-State, 26 points per game, 21 points allowed, 195 passers a game, 160 rush yards. And then for yards allowed, you got 221 passing, 126 for rushing. So both teams statistically, I mean, Kansas State is offensively not being able to get too much done. I mean, their defense has been actually pretty good over the course of the season. They really haven't had too many terrible performances. I mean, of course, only scoring 10 points against Baylor or 17 against Texas isn't a very good stat. But this team defensively has done pretty well in general for the course of over the course of the season. So that's definitely something to keep in mind going into this matchup. But as for LSU, their passing, I mean, that's been the main key to this offense is their passing game. And Max Johnson, of course, has been the primary starter all season long. So, I mean, it was a weird situation seeing him take off as he did. But yeah, that's going to be tough for this team. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty here for LSU heading into this matchup, especially, I mean, statistically, this team is mainly a passing offense, and they don't have their starting quarterback. So, I mean, it's a tough situation there. But, I mean, defensively, this team has been pretty similar to K-State in the fact that, I mean, the rushing defense is okay. Pass defense is somewhat decent, but, I mean, for the most part, both teams' stats are pretty mediocre. Some recent matchups, LSU beat Texas A&M 27-24, beat Louisiana Monroe 27-14 as well. And that Texas A&M will once again, just a gutsy win there. I mean, going up against your rival in the Aggies, a good football team ranked number 15, got the win. So a solid win there for sure. And they did lose to Arkansas there by 3 in overtime. Tough loss. Lost to Alabama by 6. They really fought in both of those games there, and did lose to Ole Miss by a couple of touchdowns there, 17-31. As for Kansas State, lost to Texas and Baylor, both in close margins. Lost to Texas by 5, Baylor by 10. Baylor, of course, turns out they're a very good football team. Who would have thought that Baylor came out of nowhere like they did, won the Big 12 title, and just won the Sugar Bowl. Insane stuff there. But yeah, for Kansas State, beat West Virginia 34-17, beat Kansas 35-10, and beat TCU 31-12. So K-State down the stretch, this has been a good football team. They did take 2 straight losses going into this matchup, but I mean they've been good over the course of the season. There have been some promising performances here out of the Wildcats. Some key points: LSU 6-6, big win against Texas A&M to clinch a bowl bid. Complicated quarterback situation, and honestly, once again, the team has just been it's just been a tough year here for the Tigers. I mean, this is a football team that just won a national title 2 years ago, and it feels insane because I mean, last season in 2020 it kind of made sense to see LSU kind of in a down situation, not having a very good season, because I mean, if you look at LSU's team in 2019. How much they lost from 2019 to 2020 is just nuts. I mean, they lost so much. Joe Burrow, the receivers, that offense was just stacked in 2019. One of the best teams that I've ever seen in college football. And LSU lost a lot of that team going into 2020. But I mean, there's not as many excuses in 2021. I mean, you got a lot of experience from 2020 returning into this season, and so maybe people expected, like I expected this team to at least get up to 8 or 9 wins. And LSU, once again, very much underachieved. Like, they've got plenty of talent. They've got the talent to be an SEC contender, but once again, they're just in a tough situation right now. And coaching, of course, Ed Orgeron, not the coach anymore. So, I mean, we'll see how this team does looking into the future. But obviously, it's been a lot of things have changed since 2019. But yeah, 2022 season starts with this game here for LSU. I mean, you got a lot of players that will be coming back next year in this game, and the quarterback situation, trying to figure out between Miles Brennan and Nussmeier who's the best option. And I mean, and the coaching situation, once again, this is a game that we're looking at for 2022 for LSU. I mean, we're looking into the future here for the Tigers in this matchup. But as for Kansas State, talented team that has been inconsistent at times, but they do have some very promising performances. Deuce Vaughn, definitely a key impact player in this game. He's rushed for nearly 1,300 yards on the season, 15 touchdowns. He's really flown under the radar. He's had a great season, and not many people talked about him, but yeah, he's definitely a major impact player in this matchup. And I mean, K-State, they've got some quality wins. Texas Tech, I mean, Texas Tech's a decent football team. TCU beat them, and West Virginia as well. So yeah, don't sleep on either team going into this matchup here. But that being said, let's get to the prediction here for LSU and K-State, your Texas Bowl matchup. I'm going to go Kansas State here 24-21. Tough one to predict here, but I do think LSU covers the 7-point spread. I mean, the spread is basically predicting a blowout win here, potentially for Kansas State by how heavily they're favored in this matchup. But I don't see that happening. I feel like LSU's going to hang in there. They're going to fight. I don't expect LSU to come out flat. I mean, they've fought down the stretch. This team has not given up. They kept it very close against Alabama back in early November, and I mean, lost to Arkansas by 3, just beat Texas A&M 27-24. So, I mean, LSU, this is a football team that definitely is still fighting, and I think they'll give it a close game. But in the end, Kansas State is the better team. They get the win 24-21. Probability 55% towards the Wildcats. Your over-under is 48 right now. I'm going to take the under as well for this game, and once again, LSU to cover the spread. But, yeah, very interesting matchup right here. I mean, this is the second to last game in this football season. So, I mean, it's definitely an interesting matchup. You got LSU looking forward into the future, and Kansas State, of course, has got a lot to look forward to as well. Moving into 2022, but should still make for a good matchup to finish out the season for both these teams. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll catch you on the next one.